right now.
Wow.
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Anthony. My name is Katy Lind. I work at Zendesk on the startups team, but I'm really excited. I'll talk to you today about 6 customer experience best practices that can apply across many different tools. It does not have to be Zendesk. And then I will say throughout the presentation, I will give some examples from our customers. So let's dive in, because I have rules or my expectations. These aren't rules, but I will try not to be boring. So I ask that you try to stay present and participate. I have a Q&A at the end, so please write down questions as we go. But if you have a burning question and you're not sure, feel free to stop me, or you can add questions to the Zoom. And if I somehow miss them, please shout them out anyways. And I hope to deliver valuable information that you can actually make a plan around and start thinking about. So I'll give some timeframes on when people do certain actions. A little bit about me. I already shared I'm in Ann Arbor. This is since grad school. I've worked as a consultant. I worked at Michigan's first unicorn, called Duo Security. Very exciting. I founded a company called Superlove, and then I actually ran an early stage startup accelerator at the University of Michigan for non-students. And now I am on the Zendesk for Startups team, and I work primarily with accelerators and entrepreneurship support organizations and venture capitalists to help them with their portfolios and help those companies use Zendesk / deliver great customer experience, even if it's not with Zendesk. So I would love everyone in chat, or you can shout out because there's not tons, what brought you here today? Or like any questions you might have before we get started, so I can make sure I address them as we go.
I would just say for me in particular, I'm new to this space.
Okay.
The company that I work for, I've only been with for less than a year as a customer success manager. And because we are a small startup, we haven't really had anybody in this role.
Okay.
So for me, just trying to learn and understand a little bit more about what we can do to bring the best experience, to our customers is why I'm here today.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Eileen, Chris, Jamie.
Yeah, I can go ahead and share. So I am a junior now at Xavier University, and I'm majoring in marketing entrepreneurship, and I'm actually here at Alloy as a student in residence for the summer.
Oh.
But I'm also here today just because, entering the professional field, I'm not sure where I'll end up. So I think it's really good practice just as soon as possible to start networking and also see how to operate in a business and how to enhance customer experience and just get a better gauge, just because I really didn't have that in high school, and I'm trying to get as much as I can here just to be like a sponge. So thank you for having me today.
Oh yeah. And I bet most of the people on this call agree. I mean, we didn't do internships when I was in college, not to age myself, but I think I'm not surprised you didn't do this in high school. It's amazing you're doing it now. So you're definitely, I would say you're ahead of the curve. Chris and Jamie.
Chris, you're on mute.
Oh,
Sorry.
We got you. We got you now.
No, what customer service is really what differentiates us from our competitors. So the more we can learn about customer service and customer support, the better.
amazing. Yeah. And we hear that from a lot of customers, and I'll address that. And Jamie, if you want to chime in.
Well, there's just Anthony's always hosting great events, and my thought is, I never want customer service issues to be an impediment to the growth of our sales, and so anything we can learn to make sure that we're not creating roadblocks, that's helpful.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone so much for sharing, and I think I hope you leave with a better understanding of some of the things to avoid and at which point you need to be aware of them. And then Eileen, I hope I hope you at least get a sense of some of the many things that make up being an entrepreneur. And this is just one of many facets of that journey. And I'm sure people on the phone can share that. Yeah. So today you will get customer experience tactics, tools, and strategies used by the fastest growing startups. This is a real question I want you all to answer. You can answer in Zoom. So what is customer experience? There's no wrong answers. Or you can shout them out. Dun, dun, dun.
In my communications class last semester, we kind of touched base on customer experience. And the way I kind of see it is like two things. Like you kind of have like the experience of like the actual like physical thing they're buying. Like if you're going to the grocery store, like ensuring that like everything is neat and like they can find the products they want. But I think it's also like the value that is like being delivered. Like if the workers are greeting the customers, if the cashier is asking how like the customer's day is, ensuring that they're like signed up for like whatever membership is for the grocery store. So I think it's kind of like two things of if they're finding what they actually need, and also if they're like getting something out of the experience that will like bring them back.
Awesome. Thank you. Others? Add, differentiate. Chris, are you gonna? Yes.
Yeah, so for us, we're a software platform. People use us every day except for Sundays. And the software is the customer experience, and the support of the software is also that, and onboarding, training properly and things like that. So we try to make the best customer experience, start with our software and then with our people.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'm glad I got to have someone who does software chime in a bit. Anyone else? Oh, Lynn, great.
Yeah, so just to kind of agree with Chris on that, we're also a software as a service platform, as well as consultants, advisors. And for us, I think customer experience is definitely the whole package, from first engagement up to implementation of the software, through supporting them on their entire journey, the entire time, not just getting them started on the platform and then walking away and leaving them. We want consistency. Education is important to us. We want that customer to be very well educated on the platform and on the process, and then continuing engagement along the way with education, and then obviously the addition of modules and things like that work for the customer. So it's kind of the whole package from the beginning to the entire time they're a customer with us.
Awesome. Thank you. And I didn't realize I had it, so I didn't see that John and Apollonio were also on the call. Feel free to jump in at any time.
Yeah, we had some technical challenges getting them in,
okay.
but they've joined us. Apollonia and John, welcome to the call.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you so much, Lynn. Very good description, and that's part of what let me get us going. So yeah, this is the second half of the Zendesk definition, but CX, or customer experience, refers to all the interactions that a consumer has with a company, consumer or customer or client. Obviously, there's lots of different words that get used, and the first half of that definition does include from before they're even a customer all the way through implementation and continuing, and the whole life cycle of the customer journey. So thank you everyone for sharing. You touched on all different types of CX. And I think I will say you did the best definition I've ever had on one of these. So thank you everyone for creating such a complete picture. This is not the question I want to ask. So, does customer experience even matter? And the question I want you all is to share a brand or a company you are loyal to and why. So everyone gets to participate. I have had some people say they're not loyal to any companies, which is fine. But I would love to hear from a few of you. We're ready for you.
I could start.
Yeah.
I would say AWS. I mean, without them, we've hardly ever had any downtime, but last night we did.
Oh,
and
no.
you can get an expert on the phone. You click a couple buttons and they call you right away with someone who really knows what to do. And the outage only lasted 4 minutes, and it didn't really matter because we're in a clustered environment, but AWS is the best, and they're
Awesome.
very cost effective.
Yeah, and AWS, I don't know if you're part of the Activate program. They do offer tons of amazing programming as well. Other people, company, brand you're loyal to.
Do you want to know the company and the why, or just the company?
The company and the why, ideally.
Yeah, this is apps. For me, it's we have a partner in India, engineering partner, and their willingness to understand our business, our challenges, go the extra mile, engaging with their leadership team and their technical team,
Yeah.
and also really going beyond the contract, right? I know that could be dangerous, a slippery slope if you're delivering services that you're not contracted for, but in terms of willingness to again being invested in our success, that's the why.
I love that. And that's so important, especially as you run B2B businesses, because having outages or having anything go wrong could be large volumes of money and impact a lot of customers. Anyone else want to share a company they're loyal to?
I don't have a company I'm loyal to specifically in mind,
Yeah.
but I'm always wanting to try out restaurants that are owned by mom and pop versus chains. And I'm loyal to the quality of the product. So if it goes downhill, steer away from that place and go to try a new place. But if it stays quality, and I'll stay loyal.
Amazing.
But, yeah.
Do you ever leave any of those though, if you have a bad experience, I assume?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always, yeah. There's been times where, I think maybe most of us have done this, where it's been so bad you've had to return it.
Oh
Or,
yeah, it's so hard. And mom and pops, it's like, it could be a big impact, but also like if it's not solid quality. And I think
they need
John,
that feedback.
Yeah.
They need the feedback.
Yeah, they do need the feedback, because how are they going to get better? And it's helpful before that becomes a negative review, right? And I think, John, you did bring up great product, but I think we also heard from multiple people that the support, Chris saying the support is world-class at AWS is so important. And I'm very loyal to Shopify. It is a world-class, I run an e-commerce business. It is it's to me the best platform out there for e-commerce. It's one of the few that is solely dedicated to e-commerce. But we have had some issues, and they're very fast to respond. And again, you need that quick response. So it's just 4 minutes, right? Because that has a huge impact. That's every minute a Shopify store is down is a minute you're not making money and losing customers. So thank you everyone for sharing. I think the takeaway, I hope, is you realize that customer experiences really matter, and people being loyal and having good experiences and great product. You have to have both. And today we're hearing, so 81% of consumers will defect to another brand as a result of a bad customer experience. That might include a bad product, but I used to work in hotel consulting. And some people were the most loyal to hotels where they had a bad experience. And it kind of makes sense, because it's how does someone solve the problem? And we're seeing that today. And again, I will say it says consumers, but it does also include clients, customers, B2B. And a good customer experience makes all the difference. So CX leaders will sort of I'll define a little bit what a leader looks like, but they are growing revenue 5 times faster than companies that are not delivering great customer experience. And that makes sense. Shouldn't be surprising, but I just want to reinforce customer experience matters. I've worked with lots of founders over the years, and I think it can be really hard to do. I know it's hard to deliver a great customer experience, and especially can be hard for truly technical founders who know they've developed the world's greatest software. But I think we all know, it doesn't matter if your product's the best if no one A, knows about it, and then B, doesn't have a good experience. So a little bit why now. Unfortunately, you may know this, but expectations are higher than they've ever been. Customers are harder to please. We've seen that overall NPS, or Net Promoter Score, is down. This is a measure of how many people are promoters of your brand versus, and this is just general across B2B. It's just overall, we're seeing people are just, they are harder to please. And then CAC, being customer acquisition costs, is 70% higher than it used to be from 2014. That is huge. And this is B2B and direct to consumer. You can see those two lines follow each other essentially. And it's not all doom and gloom, but the product value is perceived to be less. The consumer willingness to pay has declined. I mean, I remember when computers were very, very expensive and not every house had one. And like now we expect a computer to be a few $100s and to work really well compared to, I mean, this is not computer centric, but we're just expecting really great things for much lower costs. And there's way more competitors.
So Katie, I have a quick question. So going back to that NPS slide, Net Promoter Score, could you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm happy.
What is Net Promoter Score for
Yeah,
those who may not be that familiar with it?
Yeah, for sure. So Net Promoter Score is a survey that you ask your customers the likelihood they will recommend your business to, it could be a friend or a colleague or, you know, business peer. And they get to answer it on a scale of 1 to 10. And on the back end, after you get their results, people that answer 9 and 10, so very, very likely to recommend, are called promoters, but they have to give a 9 or 10. People who answer with a 7 or 8 are neutral. So they're not going to probably go and complain about your business, but they're not out there evangelizing and telling all their friends. And then the bottom, if it's 1 to 6, is actually called a detractor. And you basically measure, you count as a percentage, how many people gave you 9 and 10s. And then you subtract the number of detractors. So detractors are negative and promoters give you the positive. So that's how you're able to get like a 10. If you look, most telecommunication companies have negative Net Promoter Scores because most people they're giving a 6 to 1. They're probably going to talk. I mean, and I don't know if any of you ever worked at Comcast, but you will hear people rant and rave about Comcast, about AT&T. Like, people do not like telecommunications companies. They're very eager to say bad things about it. And so that's how you get negative Net Promoter Scores. Traditionally across the world, Apple has one of the highest Net Promoter Scores. It has gone down, but people that love Apple. And so they have a very high percent of those 9s and 10s. So let's say 80% of them give 9 and 10, and 10% are actually the 1 to 6, that they would have a score of 70. Does that help everyone? I know it's a weird concept that I gave very fast.
Yeah.
That was a
Do you
great
mind if I ask?
explanation.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you mind if, I was just wondering, so have less consumers and customers been participating in these surveys too, or is it a constant number, or is it also too consumer engagement is harder to get now?
I don't know the total answer. I don't know the answer. 2, they are getting more creative with how they ask this question. So they're sending maybe a text message. How likely are you 1 to 10, 10 being very likely to recommend? The question gets asked a little differently now sometimes, but most people feel especially in consumer, how likely are you to tell a friend about us? You'll see those questionnaires pop up after, let's say you've completed a purchase or you're in the middle of a purchase. I think Old Navy still asks this frequently. B2B, they might just send it in an email. So they are still collecting it frequently, but people are also, the one thing is there's a lot of debate among business professors apparently. And I asked my own professor, I was like, what are your thoughts? It's apparently a controversial question. Especially if you're a software person, maybe no one's necessarily talking to their friends about it. although I have talked to people about tools like Miro and Airtable. I'm very an evangelist of those tools, but the answer is I don't totally know. People have gotten creative with more ways of how do they actually deliver this question? And they might incentivize it more because they do want those answers, but does that answer it kind of? Cool. But yeah, people are much harder to please. People are more likely to complain. And I think tools like Twitter have made it way easier to complain and really voice your Yelp. And there's a lot of ways. There's other tools like G2 is where you can talk about software companies. So there's a lot more options for venting and celebrating.
Hey, Katy, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
As well, I keep on derailing you from your talk here.
Fine.
So one of the things that we struggle with and have struggled with is when looking for a UI UX person is we tend to, especially in the software space, tend to get people that confuse UI and UX, right? They think that UI is UX and like, yeah, we definitely want interface design, but we definitely want to think about this thing holistically. And as you were talking, what kind of struck me for the first time ever was UX is a lot closer to brand. Right. It's what's the brand promise? What is your brand about? And are you delivering on that through all your interactions through, yada, yada, yada. Right. Do you kind of think of that in the same way? Is that UX is similar to branding? And if so, how?
So I am today, I am talking about customer experience. So I would say, so customer experience, as we did mention, so UX can fit into that. So we were saying customer experience, every touch point experience that someone has before, during, and after a purchase, including that long runway, maybe it's a renewal, definitely falls into customer experience. I think of user experience tends to be more of like UI, as you mentioned, but also the research that goes along to UI.
Got it.
I do think customer experience, when we talk about how to build a great customer experience, I will talk to people about like, what are your values and how do your values come out in your customer experience? The business I run is it's about spreading love and sharing love. And so for better or worse, it's not a great business because we do give away a lot of product for free because we want to give love and we want it to be like easy to access, and we give away a product, but it also follows into our customer experience. And then if anyone has a problem, like a product didn't arrive, or like there's even something like they're confused about it or they were surprised, we're very fast to send replacements without question. We might be getting but I've had business to consumer businesses or direct to consumer businesses where they make it really hard for the customer. They're like, well, I need you to prove that there was a mistake. I need you to they might not be thinking about how their brand appears in their customer experience. And returns is just an example, or what kind of language are you using when someone has a bad experience, right? And a lot of that, as you scale your customer experience, I know Chris and Lynn were talking about scaling, like how do you scale your B2B? What's the language? What are the words people use when there's a problem? Is it so like cold? Is it cold or is it really warm? Or is it like, I've worked with software companies that do end of life care. You're going to want to say, oh, like, I'm so sorry, we're adding to the difficult time you're already experiencing. Like how much do you understand your customer? And I think that's how user experience can appear too. Is it playful? Is it direct? Is it clean? Like the end of life care one that I worked on, a lot of their customers were very old. It had the user experience and user interfaces had to be super simple. They didn't need any bells and whistles. Does that kind of?
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah. And I think, again, all brand and everything comes back to knowing your customer, who they are, where they are, like, why are they using your software or your tool or business? Cool. So I'm going to jump ahead a little. I think I am. Okay. So more customers. So today, I think we can all agree, hopefully, that it is all about the customer. Some of these are B2B, some of these are B2C. I will say, sometimes I share like more B2C because people are like, oh, I know Netflix. And they all do happen to be Zendesk customers, but Gympass, for example, is a software. There are a lot of software companies we work with. It's just these can be more fun to share. But some of our biggest customers are more traditional software. But yeah, today, and I think it was Jamie maybe said, or Chris, you did say like, we are differentiating ourselves with our customer experience. And that's what we see leading brands do. Because especially with things maybe being easier to replicate, your product is not enough. And so we're seeing that, your customer experience needs to be engaging. It needs to be connected. And by connected, we mean everyone, it's a seamless it's seamless as well, connected. You feel connected. It's easy to reach these people. It can be on any channel or device, whether it's Instagram or WhatsApp is very popular in Latin America. It has to be a fast experience, personalized. Netflix has really killed it at personalized. That feeling of they know you better than you know yourself, and then seamless. You never have a moment where you're like, hey, I just talked to Chris. And now I'm being transferred to Jamie. Like, why am I repeating no one likes to repeat themselves. You want that seamless feeling of like, oh, I called and now you know my call, and like everything feels seamless. So, but we also know this is a very hard thing to do. Customer experience is not easy. I think that's what brought many of you here. And you also you have to balance the customer with the needs of your business. And so customers want that easy, accessible, personal. They want engaging interactions. They want to feel like they're speaking to someone. Ideally, one day you have that someone that they are maybe live connecting with. But your agents or the people running customer experience need the right information, tools in one place. You have to be able to move fast, and you need to be able to scale. So why I'm able to talk to you about this. So Zendesk has 130 customers around the world. These are just some of the startups that have been with us since their beginning, when they were very, very early on in that. And they're still with us today. So that tells us a few things. We know we can help early companies, but we also are very good at scaling with large companies. My role exists because we realized so many of our biggest customers were early stage startups at some point. And then where the information I'm about to share comes from is that we have seen inside more customer experience, customer success, support departments than any other company. So the data I'm about to share and the best practices come from looking at 4,600 startups starting back in January 2014. And we were able to identify which of those companies, based on what we know of funding rounds, and they share revenue with us, the number of agents they have, we were able to identify the set that we would call high growth. So that top 10, 20% versus stagnant companies that didn't really grow, didn't add more seats is what we call number of people using Zendesk. And the first big takeaway was more than 70% of startups don't have a formal customer experience strategy. If you're all running or you're looking at different startups, I don't think that this did not surprise me. If it surprises you, I'd love to hear why. But I think it's really hard. And a lot of companies are so focused in the early days on sales. So a strategy for customer experience seems like a lot, especially when you're we just gotta keep adding customers. We need to have more, we need more sales. That a formal strategy isn't there. And I think it's awesome, Lynn, that you're here to listen, because eventually you need that strategy. Traditionally, it's been hard to justify investing in customer experience, especially as I mentioned, when there's this big push for sales. But I think today, and what we believe at Zendesk for startups is that your support team is a growth lever, not a cost center. Delivering that great customer experience can help you grow sales, and it can help you retain customers. I don't have an answer. I don't have a right or wrong answer to this, but what do we think is more challenging? Is it acquisition or retention? Answer, ponder, answer, thoughts. Okay. App says acquire. Do you want to say why you think it's acquire?
Yeah, just cutting through the noise, building the relationship, establishing the trust to get them to engage with you in the first place.
Yep.
Having done this for 2 decades now, it's extremely challenging. Once you're engaged, in some cases, you have to shoot yourself in the foot to lose the customer, or just lose sight of how their needs are changing. So, yeah, that's my reason.
Okay. Is anyone pro retention? Saying retention is more challenging? I will say I have seen in B2C retention, so having repeat purchasers can be very challenging. And this is like a business model, maybe it's a business model thing. I don't know the answer. I think it can be, it depends. Every business person's favorite answer, / least favorite, but yeah. One thing we have found is investing in customer experience does have a significant impact on revenue. And you'll see, so the impact of improving acquisition, this is the impact it has on revenue. So if you improve acquisition, it can have a 2.35% impact on revenue. If you improve retention, it can have almost 3 times more impact, almost 4 times more impact on revenue. And that's because especially because we talked about cost of customer acquisition can be so high that once they are in, if you can keep them and do like a land and expand, which is get them spending more money with you, it can have that huge impact on revenue. And this is again I guess this would be more impact on profit, but does it also lead to growth? Yes. We're going to look at finally, time to look under the hood. Here are the 6 targets to aim for now. I sometimes people to take like a screenshot of this. These are the 6 best practices. Here they are. I always take like a phone. I've taken many phone pictures. Okay, we're going to dive in. I'm sure you're all really excited. Okay, first, number 1, add a support platform within 9 to 10 months after raising funding. These high growth, as we mentioned, are 33% more likely to add support in the first year. And how do you know? That's the big question. When should I add a tool like Zendesk? And there are other tools. I'm happy. I will share as if you are curious, but the big thing, and this is particularly B2B, can you name all of your customers by their first name? And you'll see, okay, he's got Kelly, he's got James, Mia, Damon. Uh-oh. He can't think of everyone. And these are big, important customers. It's time for a support tool, friends. When we're talking about customer experience, you have big customers like that, you need to be able to remember all their names. But eventually it becomes too difficult. Before I get to BioBot, I'll say there's a few other triggers I listen for when I talk to VCs or people, entrepreneurs. I say, maybe now you have multiple people managing, let's say, a singular inbox of customer, your help at your company name. You have multiple people in that inbox. It's much more likely that a customer email will get dropped. You have lots of customers, but some are much higher volume or revenue than others. You need to be able to prioritize. Or maybe you've just gotten you just got your first enterprise customer. Maybe that means thousands of users and they have to adopt a new tool. That's when you're probably going to need a tool like this, especially so you can start tracking and seeing, oh my gosh, we're answering the same question over and over. We need to get on this. This is a quick story, but a company called BioBot, they test sewage water for disease. I'm sure before March of 2020, a lot of people were like, why would anyone care? But they went from 5 to 400 customers basically overnight. And they were using that shared inbox for support. And it was very difficult. People were like, what's happening? Oh my gosh, Anthony answered an email, but I answered it too. Or like, did anyone answer this one? It looks like you did, but I don't know. And so Zendesk did provide a standard way to handle and manage all that workflows. But what it really helped is BioBot was working with public health officials and scientists of different organizations, and they had really scientific questions, but their head of support was not a scientist and was not able to easily answering. So what he was able to do in the Zendesk app is flag in Dr. Chris could answer this one, Dr. Lynn answered this, and he was tagging them. And so everyone was then able to answer questions and keep on top of it. And that's how they were able to manage it. So in a way, it became a collaboration tool. And so that's, so that first rule is get out of email, use a tool. When things really start getting messy, that's it. That's your big signal for all of you. And there's lots of tools out there, but that's when you're going to need some sort of way to track, make sure no one's fallen through the cracks. Next thing is make it easy to reach you. I say within reason, but you're going to start branching out about 3 to 6 months after you've got email under control. This is the time to add some live or omni-channel. So these high growth companies are 33% more likely to add omni-channel by year 2. I'm going to say what omni-channel is. So if you have a social media presence, if you are dealing with customers who prefer to use a tool like WhatsApp, maybe you have a messaging tool on your website so people can send you questions right from the website. They've also phone calls. Let's say they're also calling you. You need a way to have everything come into one place. You don't want to have to be like, oh my gosh. So this is an example of how it would work. And so on the back end, the customer support person is still in their Zendesk tool. It's just all the messages are now, they're able to answer from Zendesk, the Instagram and Facebook messages. And so this is what we want. We want someone to be like, here's my order number. Here's all the information very fast. We don't want them to have to be like, hold on, and Zendesk integrates with Shopify. So all this information really does live in one place. That's what you want. We want that sincere apologies. I hope this was I fixed it. This is not what we don't want this, but this happens a lot. So John is like, I use WhatsApp every day to communicate with everyone. So I should obviously communicate with this company over WhatsApp. You don't want the person to come back and be like, okay, you should definitely email us your question, which happens, right? John's like, no, I want help from one place. So you need to create that effortless customer experience anytime, anywhere. And it's important. It's most important is on the channels that your customers are already using. So that's what it'll look like. Okay. An example, trust. You need to make it easy to reach you, and the easier and quicker, or the easiest way, if it's easy to reach you, it builds trust. So Neat is a financial, it's a fintech startup. And because they were able to, when they use Zendesk, they were able to reach people wherever they were, and it built that trust. And we know from, in 2008, a lot of people after that really needed more trust with fintech, and this really helped deliver on that. And so that is there. So meet them where they are, and that means add omni-channel. I am curious, what channels are your customers using today? Anyone? Is it mostly email?
Email.
Yeah. Any others?
It's almost all phone for us.
Okay. Yeah, phone, totally. I think that changes and then that's also, it can be very demographic specific. But even I think like my dad's transitioning over to a lot more email to himself. Okay, next, build a plan for live channels. Add chat in the first 12 months of funding, and then add phone within the first 17. Chat is live. I'm referring to live chat on the website. Again, high growth companies are 20% more likely to add chat. And then they get more people, 16% more agents assigned to live chat on average. That can seem kind of overwhelming because an agent is a person that costs lots of money. But it's just having people there. So this is Choopy. They are B2C in this instance. They're retail, but the store is closed. They're out of Dublin. The store is closed. So they needed a tool like Zendesk, and they turned to us. And they were able to do a robust tagging system. And and then the plugin from Instagrams, and it actually enabled their customer care agents to be really proactive. So, oh, I see Lynn, I have our integration with Shopify. She messaged on Instagram. I know she's bought these other gifts in the past. Let me reach out and be like, Lynn, I just want to let you know we have this great sale on these products you love. Or Lynn might say, I'm having trouble with XYZ. I can't tell what it looks like. The Choopy people became they started really becoming salespeople and answering questions because people wanted to like touch and feel and look at the jewelry. It's a higher end jewelry store. So the care support people really ended up being salespeople during COVID. And so it's kind of a cool answer, but yeah, that's where live chat came in, because people sometimes these are impulsive buys, or you really want to buy something right now. You don't want to miss that moment when they're trying to buy. So use live chat, support it, and staff it. Don't turn on live chat unless you have someone to staff it, by the way. I think you should know that, but you don't. Some people also, by the way, with live chat, you can set hours that it's available. It doesn't have to be 24 hours. You can say we have someone on live chat from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever it is. This is honestly the first. I actually push this as probably one of the top things I tell startups to do, but it's get a help center up. Those are those frequently asked questions, articles, and build. So launch with your top 5 questions. Most of you will know. If you don't know what your top 5 questions are, usually guess what you would care the most about. How much does it cost? How can I pay you? When do I get it? How long do I have access to it? Like, tell me more about your product. How does it work? How do I cancel? Like, those are the things people want to know the most about. Ends up usually coming to financial needs. When am I going to get it? But keep going, keep adding as you go. And this is the number of articles. And I will say through Zendesk, your articles can be, could be like a few sentences. It doesn't have to be like, let me walk you through this whole way of onboarding onto our platform. Sometimes it's, sorry, we are, Chris, you said you had an outage. Sorry, we are having an outage. We have templates. You can quickly send out a service outage announcement right onto your help desk website, so that people, when they log in, they're like, what is happening with Chris's tool? Like, oh, looks like they've already posted there is an outage. It should be resolved really fast. Great to know, right? Like, because you can get quickly flooded. And so our tool does enable that, and other tools do too, that ability to quickly do it. So one of the things we see some of our top companies doing is once a week, they might have all their customer team members, or like every team member, create one new article. What's a question you've answered that week that you think other people will ask as well? And so they just, in 600 seconds, which is 10 minutes, write one new article a week. This is just showing you how quickly it can happen. So this is like, Angela, can you help me understand where my other package is? This is, you can very quickly create new knowledge and just start an article right away. And again, this is what your agents, to help them go quickly, you want the agents to be able to answer questions in there. Okay, yep, see, create little knowledge. This is there's templates that'll pop up. Hotjar, it helps its clients better understand how users behave on their websites. This is a very cool service, definitely a B2B. But they added so many articles, and they really thought through the lens of how can we make this easier for people so they don't need to reach out to us. And they were able to decrease tickets. So they reduced the number of tickets by 50%, but they increased page visits by 100%. So they had higher customer volume, but lower tickets because people were answering them themselves. And that's really what you want. You want to have less, you don't want more headcount. You want to keep headcount low and customers answering their own questions. Okay, so invest in self-service now. We don't have a ton of time left, so I'm going to keep going. This next one's add apps and integrations. Some of our most popular integrations, and most tools integrate with this. Zendesk is very lucky. We have some of the most integrations out there with knowledge capture, what we just showed, but Jira, Slack, Shopify, as I mentioned, and growing teams do invest in more apps and integrations. Then the last thing is be relentless about driving down first reply time and resolution time. So if you're like, what are the numbers when it comes to customer experience I need to be focused on and thinking about? It's these two numbers. First reply, the first time you get an interaction within 3 hours. So that could be an email's answered within 3 hours. And then the resolution time is down to 8 hours, and that's within your first 2 years of business. These are really exceptionally great times, resolution. It depends on how many customers you have and such, and the value. The other thing is, one of the things that Zendesk enables you to do is prioritize certain customers. You probably all feel like some of your customers ultimately do matter more, or they maybe have more users. So just think, these are the numbers though to think through. Oopsies. So I'm going to keep going. So let me just show you Zendesk for Startups program, resources. There are other tools. Zendesk has been, though, we are the one tool that 15 years ago when we started, we just were focused on customer support and experience, because so many tools were doing customer support and experience as an add-on. That's all we do. It's the most important thing. And so Zendesk, we are champions of customer service. We have some of the world's biggest startups work with us, or no, unicorns now. Customer service, as I mentioned, since we were day one, this is what we've been building on. It's in our DNA. And then we have the best practices built into our products. What that looks like is triggers, automations. They're all there. Templates are there so that you don't have to guess, or we try to make it as easy as possible for you. And then this is the offer for Alloy. So you get 6 months free with Zendesk. There's office hours. You can always reach out to me. We have community programs, experts, events. We have a Slack channel. Lynn, if that's something you'd be interested in, you could actually join with other expert customer experience people, and they all just share. They're all CX, mostly executives and leaders from startups. They have Ask Me Anything. So there's a lot of really cool opportunities in the Zendesk for Startups program. You have to be a new Zendesk customer within the last, at least if you're not new and you joined maybe a few weeks ago, we can always work on that. Up to 100 employees and Series B or below in funding. And that's me. That's it. I try to go fast to the end. Sorry. We have 7 minutes for questions. I went fast. Questions?
No, that's good. Thank you. Thank you, Katie, for that. So will we be able to get a copy of this presentation? Is that something that you can share, and we can just?
Yeah, I can share that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. Because this is some good stuff here. I guess so. One question that I've got, and people feel free to jump in here. So, why do you think it's so hard for companies to really understand that concept? Like, your most lucrative place to look for additional revenue or growth is with your existing customer base. I mean, I think you showed a slide there.
Yeah, well, I have our churn, reducing churn.
Yeah,
the big one. I kind of went fast through this. Well, I guess, Anthony, I can put it back on you. I have an answer, but why do you think that? Why is that so?
I don't know. I'm trying, I mean, you kind of put it out there to the audience, and everyone said, oh, we need to focus on acquisition, that's our focus. But really the most lucrative place to look for growth is with your existing customers. Here's
what I'll say. So,
yeah.
And Anthony, I'm sure you've, I don't know if you've seen, I'm sure you've been in, I don't know, maybe, have you been in a room with a bunch of investors reviewing a pitch?
Oh yeah. Yes.
What are the questions they ask?
I mean, it's always around sales and traction. It
Tell us
always
about your
goes back.
traction. Tell us about your sales. Like,
Yes.
okay, what do you, oh my God, amazing. You're gonna like 50x your number of customers in 20 days. Like,
Yeah.
no, and they're not asking, the VCs and accelerator programs too are not asking like, are you a sustainable business? How are you going to keep these customers? I think
Yeah.
they should, but they're not. But I do think with what's happening in the economy right now, and a ton of companies there's a great readjustment of valuations. I think they're realizing like we need to be asking like, what's the long-term value you're bringing your customers?
Yeah.
Why, what's happening? And so, but I think you work towards what you're incentivized by. And most startups are being incentivized to just get tons of customers.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. It looks really good. Like keep it going. That's what I think is happening. But I think it'll start changing. I hope it starts changing because like a sustainable business keeps customers.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, and I think I've got some semblance of an answer to that. I mean, I think it's all in the values of the company. I think, you know, what their core values are. Like it, you know, the most incentivized person, you know, within a startup or within a company is that salesperson. And no offense to the sales people that are out there, but I mean, they're the most incentivized person. You know, customer service, they're an afterthought. So I really think it's kind of the core values of that business or that company is what it comes down to. And
I mean,
so
and
that's my take.
yeah, it's not, they're hired much later. Sometimes it
Yeah.
falls under like an operations, it falls under marketing, like and I mean, I know Lynn, you're on the phone. You could always share why you think it's hard, or Jamie, you've unmuted.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
Well,
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you show me that URL again? It doesn't seem to work.
Oh, no. Okay. That's
The URL?
the bit.ly
Yeah.
dot Zendesk for Alloy.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Hold on. Well, let's see. Here, if I put it in here, let's see what happens. Okay. Now I'm all it's possible I made this all up and it's wrong. Oh, okay. It does work on mine. I just put the link in chat. It's possible. Some fun. Try the link that's in chat. And this is the form to get started.
Oh, it does work.
That was probably my fault though. I do have one little request and then I'm happy. I know Lynn, you were going to jump in. This is a very long, this is a feedback. I'd super appreciate any feedback, positive, negative, whatever feedback you have. Lynn, have you experienced, what do you think CX or your customer experience team, why do you think it's sort of not as important as it should be?
well, I think I would step back and say that we do understand the importance of customer experience, and it's part of what we, you know, our core value just within the company is, you know, we sort of hold the hand of our customers from, again, beginning to implementation and then continuing on, you know, past that. But I think my thought process was a little bit more towards customer retention versus trying to get new sales. And, you know, 17 years I was in the retail business in a gift shop. And one of the things we learned along the way is that it was always more valuable for us to retain a good customer than it was to constantly be running after new ones. The good customers came back, they repeatedly purchased, their purchases were usually a good size, right? They spent a lot of money with us. You know, a lot of times it was just you want to put your promotions towards these people who are regulars. They're the ones who are talking you up everywhere. And I think a little bit, and apps might correct me, but I think we're seeing a bit right now as we're working through this process that we are seeing how valuable we are to our current customers, and they are asking us for more.
Amazing.
So, I mean, they definitely are wanting to spend more money with us. So I think that reinforces, what you're saying about retaining the current customers and providing value. You might be better off providing the best value you can to 5 customers versus substandard customer service, any kind of service, to 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a smart way of looking at it.
Yeah, and there's lots of ways of looking at it. And I know we know there's so many businesses that are different, and it depends on where they are in their journey. Fundraising is really important. But obviously, at Zendesk, we do believe the customer experience is a question that VCs should ask. Yeah. So anything else I can answer? This is the page I was saying you might want to just like take that screen grab of. Yeah, I do think 1 and 4 are my like biggest for early stage. You can have articles, you can make them blog articles. That's something you can do from day one. You truly can. It doesn't have to be a Zendesk. There's lots of ways to have information. In the inbox, a lot of people stay in their inbox for a long time. And this is I really say, don't use Zendesk. Don't do the 6 months free. If you're like, we only have 10 customers, I only get a few emails a day. Really wait till you're like, this is overwhelmed and we have too many people. Or I was really lucky. One of my friends is working at Michael Jordan's new startup. And when they launched, I was like, so you probably need this because Michael Jordan's kind of a big deal. Like everyone's going to want to be a part of what he's building. So they got it set up ahead of time. Most of us are not Michael Jordan. Unfortunately, I wish I was a great basketball player, but most of us probably won't need it right away. But you never know. Any other questions? Awesome. It was so nice meeting all of you. I appreciate anyone taking the survey. It's in the Zoom chat. Anthony has I guess I can put my email here. If you have any questions, you can always reach out.
Yeah, thank you again, Katy. We
Yeah.
really appreciate you spending your lunch, part of your lunch hour with us.
In the
today.
AC.
Yeah.
I am in AC. It's kind of a benefit right now.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And appreciate your insight, and this is good stuff. And yeah, if you've got the presentation that you could share with us, so we could put that in a library, that'd be awesome. And we've got a recording as well of this session.
Awesome.
So thanks again.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you
Thanks
for your
much.
time, Katy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate it.